God. Going too fast. I'm taking 3.
I'm going for the St. Louis now.
Oh, no.
Son of a bitch.
You get your 2?
Yeah.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thotgor here, of course, and today we are going to take a look at 2 replays that were sent in by some subscribers. And you can see, first of all, we're going to start off in the Belfast. Now, this is a replay sent in by Ace Pilot, and you can see that Ace is grouped up here with a few of his friends as well. I think it's Ballistic and Regan is the other 2 players, and we're going to take a look at the Belfast at the same time as well. Now, before we do get too far into it, I do want to mention that we are going to be having an upcoming contest here on the channel. Yes, it's not going to be this week, it's actually going to be next week. But what I would like to know from you guys this week is, what sort of contest do we want? Now, I know I've asked this last time when we had our other contest, and I think the other contest we went with the most base experience at tier 5. Potentially. So yeah, I mean, we'll have to pick a specific tier, right? So we'll have to pick a specific tier to try out. Probably not a specific ship, but I mean, I'm open to ideas. So I'm open to know what you guys want. Obviously, there'll be, you know, first, second, and third prize. I haven't figured out what the prizes are going to be yet. Whether it's just going to be straight up gold or if there's something in the premium shop, right? I mean, very flexible on it as well, but want to get that information out there. So start thinking about it. Let me know. I am also going to try to offer this on all servers. So regardless of what server you play on, you would still be eligible for prizes, because the dollar value of the prizes would remain the same. Now, what that might equate to with a lower Canadian dollar is that maybe once it converts to your currency, it doesn't actually work out the same. But whatever, we'll figure it out when that gets there. So start thinking and let me know in the video comments below. Now, Belfast. Belfast obviously is a interesting cruiser at tier 7. She's a premium cruiser. She does have the high explosive rounds on her. That, you know, she's the only British cruiser that actually does have the high explosive rounds, and she has the armor piercing as well. Now, the armor piercing in the Belfast is not the normal, you know, like the super penetrating armor piercing that the other British cruisers get. I believe that this is just normal, straight up AP that you would find in any other 152. I think they're 152 guns. I'm not sure, but whatever. Run shards, and we instantly move into the northern cap zone and start trying to pick off some enemies. And I do the exact same thing when I'm in my British cruisers, you know, on this map as well. As I do actually try to get in here fairly close, but you know, I try to get in unseen, just like Ace is doing here. If I do become seen, pop my smoke, but really I'm setting up for shots, sending shots off at enemy ships, right? That's what I'm trying to do, dish out as much damage as I possibly can. We do have a Congo off in the distance that we're going to try and put some shots into, and obviously, you know, being a Belfast, we can just spam the HE, which is pretty effective. Now, the Belfast, you'll notice here as well, has the what is it, the heal, the smoke, no, sorry, acoustic sonar, smoke, and radar. There is no heal. I don't think the Belfast gets the heal ability, but still pretty effective. We don't have any torpedoes, obviously. That's another distinguishing feature of the Belfast, is that she does not have any torpedoes, which can be troublesome at times, but you know, with the high explosive, you gotta take what you can get, I guess. We can see an enemy York there off in the distance. It does look like this player is just sitting there, doesn't it? I don't think, maybe that player disconnected, but whatever. Paid the ultimate price, and Ace's team quickly gets rid of that York player. Now we can see some enemy battleships coming into play, and it takes some getting used to for me, especially when I was watching this replay, getting used to thinking, oh my god, what, you know, we're going to stick around and fight battleships here in a British cruiser, what's going on? But yes, we have the high explosive, right? So we can set fires and we can do damage over time to battleships. That being said, I do have my Fiji and loving the Fiji, but the Fiji also, you know, with the armor piercing, is still pretty capable of doing some decent damage to battleships. It's consistent in that, you know, every salvo you go out does do some damage. It's just you're not going to rack up a lot of damage over time because, you know, obviously you're not setting any fires with that armor piercing. If you do want to set fires, you have to get in really, really close and allow your secondary battery to open up on them and hope, of course, that you do get some fires are set. We can see more shots going into the enemy battleship there off in the distance. Our smoke is gone, so we're going to start getting ourselves out of this position and out of this situation, because that's the last thing you want to do is be sitting around when your smoke is gone. This will be very, very detrimental to you indeed. So we're going to get ourselves in behind some cover here, just keeping an eye on the enemy battleships over there, taking a look to see if we can fire over these mountains, but it doesn't look like we're going to be able to do so. And we're going to circle around in with our team here and help these guys out over here. We can see one of our division mates in the Nagato is in a bad way, and in fact we just lost the Nagato, so that kind of sucks. But still, we're going to get over here and we're going to see what we can do against some of these enemy ships. We can see some torpedoes coming in for the enemy Congo, and there we go, enemy Congo goes down. Fantastic. Another thing we do not have to worry about. There's still another enemy battleship over there as well, but it's only one. I think we might have just taken him down. We do see the enemy destroyer here off in the distance, the Minakaze. So, we're going to turn ourselves around and we're going to actually start pushing to the south. It's a good call as well. I mean, at this point in time in the battle, especially considering that we already have the northern point. The majority of our team is up here. We do have some, people slacking off there in the back as well, but not really too concerned about those guys right now. We need to push. We need to push and get forward and start putting some pressure on B. We don't necessarily have to take B, but we need to stop the enemy from accruing points from the cap itself, right? That is going to be our main objective. I do enjoy the concealment on the British cruisers. I like that I can get in closer than normal and then start opening up my guns, and then I can pop my smoke as well. And overall, I guess I have been actually enjoying the British cruisers pretty well. I mean, the Leander was nice. You could start seeing the potential there at the Leander, but it just didn't blow me away, I guess, as much as like the Fiji is. I really am enjoying the Fiji at this point in time. We can see that the enemy battleship, actually the enemy Aoba over there, did put some shots not into us, but into our ally, and the ally was already dead. At the very least, those shots didn't go into us and do any significant damage, which is decent. We do see the enemy Minakaze here off in the distance. Our secondary battery is also engaging, and we can see that Ace is trying to get the Minakaze down as quick as he possibly can, which is always a good move. I mean, the Minakaze could come in here and torpedo you, and it could be fairly tragic, and have tragic results as well, which you always do want to try and avoid. We can see that we are getting some shots here on the enemy Minakaze, doing some damage. It does look like the enemy Minakaze was able to repair the fire though, and we are spotted, so we do need to keep this in mind. Now, we haven't popped our smoke as of yet, and it's a pretty good call, because again, when in your British cruisers, you want to make sure that when you pop your smoke, you're in an excellent position to rain out shots from or to a lot of different targets. If you pop your smoke and you're not in a good position, it's really not that worth it. So we're going to slow ourselves down, which is another thing you got to make sure you do. You got to make sure that you stop or come to a stop here and slow yourself down before you pop your smoke. Make sure you don't sail right out of your smoke. Interestingly enough, I don't have a perth, but I was playing with a trucker, One Mad Trucker, the other day, and he does have a perth, and it was interesting to see the way that smoke works on that ship, right? The way the smoke works on the perth right now, basically, it seems as though you pop it and it just sort of follows you around. It doesn't stay very long, but it follows you around so that you can remain unseen, which is very, very interesting indeed. Now we have some torpedoes coming in. It looks like a spread of 4 and a spread of 2, so we know that one of those torpedo spreads is from the enemy Aoba, 10-kilometer torpedoes, and the other torpedoes look like from the enemy Minakaze. We get very lucky with those Minakaze torpedoes as they run out, and the Aoba torpedoes go right past us as well, so fantastic. More torpedoes coming in. It's one spread of 2, so we know that again is most likely going to be the Minakaze, and that those torpedoes are probably going to run out before they actually hit us. Nonetheless, Ace did get himself into position to splice the torpedoes just in case. You don't necessarily want to take too many chances with torpedoes. We can see the enemy Aoba there off in the distance, and we're putting our armor-piercing shells down range, because the Aoba is giving us a nice broadside right now. So we're sitting on about 14,000 damage, and if we could start racking up some citadels here, this would be very, very helpful in increasing our overall damage numbers for the battle. More shots go into the enemy Aoba, and we're just not getting very lucky with landing any shells. We'll just keep trying to fire here at the enemy Aoba, hoping that we're going to be able to land citadels and do some pretty significant damage. We do finally manage to land a few shots, not as many as we may have liked, but we do also see another British cruiser there off in the distance, an Emerald, right? The Tier 5 British cruiser. Now, the Tier 5 British cruiser is definitely no Belfast or Fiji. That Tier 5 British cruiser, I mean, it wasn't bad. The Emerald, I guess, wasn't too bad. My biggest gripe with it was just the single cannon guns, right? It just made it annoying having all these single cannon guns when everyone else has like multi-cannon turrets, and that's what I really wanted. But anyway. Closing the distance here on the enemy Aoba, using the island that we have there on our port side as cover as best we can. We can see that we do have an enemy, what is that, Miyoko there off in the distance as well, that we're going to want to keep an eye out, or an eye on, because we don't want that guy to come in here and kill us. Because again, I mean, the Aoba and the Miyoko and, well, even the Emerald, I mean, everyone, all these ships have a very high potential of landing citadel shots on us if they're firing their armor piercing, especially the Aoba and the Miyoko. So we do really want to keep these players in mind. There we go. We managed to finish off the enemy Minikaze. That is fantastic. We pop our smoke to make sure that we're no longer seen by these enemy cruisers. We can see some of the enemy cruisers are taking pot shots off at us. The Miyoko has moved in a little closer, and we're going to get a nice armor-piercing surprise out for the Miyoko. Have those shots go in, and they do a bit of damage. I mean, no citadels as of yet, but still, we did a bit of damage. We're sitting on about 32,000 damage now, which isn't too bad. There's a little more damage as well with those incoming armor-piercing shots to the Miyoko. We're in a good position right now. I mean, I know we're just outside the cap, but we are still in a great position to really start dishing out some damage here to some of these enemy cruisers, because these enemy cruisers are all sailing broadside to us, and they are all, you know, just prime for our armor piercing to go in there and do a bit of damage. There we go. There's one citadel on the enemy Aoba, so that is not too bad. We most likely did a bit of damage there with that. We can see the Miyoko and the Aoba has popped out of sight, so we're not going to be able to deal with them just yet. We do see the Emerald off in the distance on very, very low health indeed, so we put a few shots down range and see what we can do about just, you know, finishing off that Emerald if need be. You know, then no one else on our team is going to do it. Why can't we do it? We're going to close distance here as well with the enemy Miyoko and Aoba, which are still in front of us. We do manage to finish off the enemy Emerald, which is fantastic, and now we are moving into the B cap zone to start contesting this cap zone, right? We're going to get real close now to this enemy Miyoko. Now, we don't have any torpedoes, need to keep in mind, and there we go. Nice 4 citadels, manages to finish off the enemy Miyoko. That's fantastic. We see the enemy Aoba come up, and again, we're very, very close. There's 3 more citadels in one salvo, which was not too shabby at all, and we just have to get our rear cannon shot off, and there's 2 more citadels, and the enemy Miyoko is gone. Very, very quickly indeed did we just destroy those 2 enemy Japanese ships, which was very, very surprising when I saw it, but it makes sense. I mean, you know, when you get close to a British cruiser and you're in a cruiser and you're sailing broadside, that British cruiser is going to do a bunch of damage, regardless of whether or not it has just, you know, regular armor piercing shells or the British, you know, super penetrating shells or whatever they're called. You know, you're still going to do a bunch of damage, because at the end of the day, the cruisers don't have very much armor on their sides, regardless of what cruiser you're in. You are going to end up doing a bit of damage there, and if your armor piercing is ready to go, you are going to land citadels, and it's going to be pretty great. So we're sitting on about 4 kills now, which is not too bad. We might be able to go for a nice kraken here, which would be pretty fantastic indeed. We do see the last enemy ship there off in the distance, enemy Hatsuharu, just kind of circling around. So we're going to load up our high explosive and try and saturate the area here with some of our shells to see what we can do about getting the kill on this guy and getting ourselves a nice kraken. Now, it is important to note here, we can see Ace's division mate there, right? Ace's division mate was nice enough not to fire at the enemy enemy Hatsuharu, leaving the option open for Ace here to get the kraken, which is very nice from that player indeed. And you know, we can see some of the other allied ships who aren't in the division feverishly trying to take the kill here, but just not meant to be. Ace finishes off the game with the kraken and the kill to the Hatsuharu. So we'll take a look at some of the final results here. We can see victory is ours, 5,900 experience. We get our kraken 10 citadels, 73,000 damage dealt, 23,000 credits earned. Top of the team overall with just under 2,000 base experience, which is not too shabby at all. We can see over there on the enemy team, we did not have such a good game over there on the enemy team. No one was able to break the 1,000 experience point mark anyway. Now we can see how some of this damage has broken down, so we can see that we did do a lot of damage there to the Aoba and that ARP Miyoko. We did some decent damage to the enemy Minakaze, the Emerald, the Hatsuwaru, and a few battleships as well with some of the fires we set. When all is said and done, we do end up walking away with 435,000 credits, and again the 5,900 experience, which is always great. You know, it's a premium ship, so we'll get some free experience, and it'll always work towards some of the other British ships that'll eventually be coming out as well. Alright, so moving into our next video, you can see we're with Puddahead this time, and we are in the Svetlana. Yes, don't really take a look at the Svetlana very often, but she is a very capable cruiser at tier 4. Not my favorite cruiser at tier 4. I still am very, very partial to the Kuma at tier 4. I think that is an amazing cruiser, but this Svetlana, it's a pretty close second, and it probably, arguably, might be better than the Kuma in, you know, some cases and in, you know, with certain people's opinions. But still, very good cruiser indeed. It was one of the few cruisers. Well, I guess I can't even say that. Well, no, I hated the Karlsruhe. The Karlsruhe was garbage. The Kuma's good, Svetlana was good. I really didn't like the Phoenix. I thought the Phoenix was garbage as well. It's at least one of the good tier 4 cruisers, so we've got that going. Now we're on straight, and you can see right away Puddahead is going to get himself up here to the middle of the map, right, and start contesting this B zone, which is not a bad idea at all. And this Svetlana doesn't have terrific range on her, but what she does have is a lot of cannons. Lots of cannons, rapid firing cannons as well. Now on top of all this, we do also have torpedoes on this Svetlana. I can't remember the range. I would be surprised if they were beyond 4 kilometers, but we have them if we need them, right? Coming up here to the middle, again, you know, not such a bad idea at all, because we are going to have this island here, this little island coming up on the starboard side of the ship. We are going to be able to use this island as cover, especially from the enemies that are going to come from the south down there at sea, right? So we can get ourselves in behind this island, use it as cover, and put some pressure on B. Maybe even break up some of the enemy formations and make them come towards B, which will allow our ships in the north and the south, hopefully, to pick them off as they're making their way towards B. So we can start to see some of the enemy ships start popping up here. We can see some enemies do have, or at least it looks like they may have, similar ideas as us, you know, getting in here to B and start capping this point, or at least start contesting the point. So we may have to duke it out with these people and see how that goes. But we do also see the enemies making a play down there in the south. But we do have a pretty good force in the south. Hopefully our allied ships down there will be able to, you know, take on those enemies. Now we are spotted. We have an enemy Kuma here coming up quickly, so we are going to want to do something about the Kuma indeed, and hopefully get the player down. Keep in mind, of course, the Kuma does have torpedoes, 7-kilometer torpedoes. She's got 2 torpedo launchers, double torpedo launchers on either side of the ship. Man, say that 3 times fast, man. Anyway, Kuma's coming in, and we are going to just try and get all of our guns firing off of the Kuma while presenting us a pretty small target to us. Fortunately for us as well, the Kuma captain does not seem to be too concerned with actually dealing with us, and in fact, the Kuma captain seems to be well engaged with one of our allies, so maybe we'll be able to take this, use this to our advantage, and even better, maybe even be able to get some torpedoes off the Kuma before the Kuma gets torpedoes off at us, if the Kuma even gets torpedoes off at us. Because remember, Kuma still isn't paying attention to us at this point. There we go, torpedoes came off from the Kuma, and we were able to avoid those torpedoes, which was great. Puddahead had slowed his ship down, so the torpedoes just went whizzing by without any sort of harm at all. The Kuma is now definitely focused on us, so we do want to make a play here and see what we can do about getting the player down. So we're going to fire off our torpedoes. The Kuma is in very, very close range to us, so we should be able to get some hits with these torpedoes. We can see 2 more spreads of torpedoes coming from the Kuma, and we don't have to worry about those because we were able to avoid them. Our torpedoes go in and barely miss the Kuma, and you can see one of our allies manages to get the finishing blow on the Kuma, and we don't have to worry about that player anymore. Enemy Karlsruhe off in the distance. I always feel so sorry for those players in the Karlsruhe. What a awful tier 4 cruiser that thing is. But anyway, we're going to reverse, we're going to stay in the cap, and we're going to try and cap the point here. We can see the Karlsruhe is going at full speed in a straight line, so we don't really have to worry too much about this player, you know, attempting to stop and actually start capping the point. You can see that we set the Karlsruhe on fire, and with that we did manage to get the kill on the Karlsruhe as well. We have torpedoes coming in. Don't need to worry about them. We're, you know, able to maneuver out of the way without any issue. We are on fire, but we do have a bit of health, so we should be able to soak up this fire damage without too much hassle. And of course, we're going to get ourselves back into the B point and start capping this out, right? No one at this point in time has any caps, neither the enemy or our team. So if, you know, if we can go ahead and start getting this B cap zone taken, this should go a long way in help securing our victory in the end. We can see the fire has now finally gone out, and it left us maybe a quarter life, little more than a quarter life remaining. So we do still have something to work with here, so we can still take a few chances, but we do have to be very careful. We can see the Kaiser off in the distance over there, and we're going to start throwing our high explosive at the Kaiser, hopefully setting the player on fire. But in the meantime too, you know, we are maneuvering around here in B to make sure that any incoming shots hopefully will not land and hit us and potentially kill us. And as all this is going on, we're still capping the B point as well. So if we do take any damage, it's going to reset the cap of the B cap, and that could be detrimental. So we're just going to continue to push forward here, circling around, or rather maneuvering around in B, trying to make sure we don't get hit, and just trying to make sure that we can actually take this point. You can see down in the south, our allies down there at C have now managed to take the, or are now capping the C zone as well. The enemies that were down there, it looks like they're in a retreat or have, you know, pushed back and opened up the distance a little, allowing our team to really get in there and start capping. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use this little channel here, this little side zone, I guess, over here on the east side, and see what we can do about maybe getting in and behind the enemy lines and maybe disrupting them a little. Maybe taking out a few ships, helping our allies take out a few ships, but as well, you know, prevent the enemy in the north from reaching the ally or their allies in the south, to have them regroup and potentially do a final push there on C, right? We want to try and avoid that. Now in the north, our allies are moving into position around A to actually start setting themselves up to start capping the point, which is fantastic, because if we can get all 3 points capped, then we can pretty much call this one a victory. You can see Puddahead is being a little cautious here as well, right? Not willing to just push right into the channel, suspecting that there might be some ally or some enemy ships hiding that he doesn't necessarily see, and what he's trying to avoid obviously is just coming out from this little channel here, out from cover, being spotted immediately by the enemy, and then dying immediately, right? That is exactly what Puddahead is trying to avoid here at this point in time. So we're just going to continue to kind of, you know, move slowly into the channel here, see what we've got. We can see the allies up there in the north. They do seem to be pretty heavily focused on our allies up there in the north. One of our allies in the south just took, or was it in the north? Doesn't matter. One of our allies just killed one of the enemy ships, so that is great. We see the enemy aircraft carrier over there as well, and it doesn't look like the enemy aircraft carrier is doing too much. We also see an enemy battleships that we want to be careful of. We get a nice citadel there on the enemy aircraft carrier. I mean, there's no reason why your ships at this tier can't do it, even with the high explosive. I mean, the aircraft carriers at this tier, what is it, a Hosho, so tier 4 aircraft carrier, very little armor, if any at all. Especially the Japanese carriers. I mean, it's not until I think tier 9 at the Taiho that you start getting a little more armor than what is typical for a Japanese carrier. But anyway, continuing to put shots into the enemy Hosho, we are taking a look around to make sure that the enemy ships aren't, you know, too wise to our plans. Is it an enemy Hosho? Maybe it's a Bogue. I just caught a quick glimpse of it there. Maybe it is a Bogue. I'm not sure. Whatever carrier it is, we can obviously get citadels on it. So we'll keep engaging the enemy carrier. We're going to push out a little more to see as well, once again, what is the enemy doing? Where are the enemy ships? We do see on our minimap that we do have an enemy coming from the north. That would be on the port side of us coming down. Looks like that player might be getting a little close to us. You can see we're going to launch off some torpedoes here. in hopes that maybe the enemy aircraft carrier will hit them, or at the very least an enemy ship who's not paying attention will run into them as well. We can see some of the enemy battleships over there. It doesn't look like they're going to be focused on us too much, and as well the enemy British cruiser over there. That Emerald though, that Emerald could really ruin our day. And then there is the enemy, is it the Bogue? Maybe it's a Langley? It's an American aircraft carrier anyway, I'm sure of that now. I know it's not a host show. So we're going to continue to put shots into that player. You can see that we have the player on fire as well, which is great, because obviously that is doing damage over time, and our allies have capped the sea zone. Perfect. We only have 5 enemy ships remaining. It doesn't look like the enemies really did too much here at all in terms of trying to contest the points. And you know, you really do want to be careful at the beginning too, right? Because that's when you're going to die. It's going to be at the beginning, and you really want to try and avoid that. And the whole idea of, you know, positioning and situational awareness is going to play into that. So there we go. We managed to kill the aircraft carrier, and victory is ours. Yes, we put the enemy team into negative points by destroying their ships very quickly indeed. So 160,000 credits earned, 48,000 damage dealt, 2 kills, number of citadels. We do finish top of the team overall with 1100 base experience, which is not too bad. You can see how some of the damage has broken down here, and yes, it was in fact a Bogue now that I see this. And of course, when all is said and done, 154,000 credits is what we end up walking away with, and 5,100 experience as well, which is always great. Anyway, folks, that is today's video. Do keep in mind that I'm open to suggestions as to the contest, right? What we're going to do to give away some prizes, so be sure to let me know of your ideas in the video comment section below. Remember to hit the old like button if you did like today's video, hit subscribe if you're not a subscriber, leave any comments you have for me as always, and of course, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.